afternoon and welcome to our webinar this month. You can see the title there, Retiring with Dignity. So did you know that it was Older Person Week from the 27th of September to the 3rd of October in South Africa, and that Active Aging Week occurred from the 4th to the 10th of October internationally. Older Persons Week is used to recognize the contributions of older persons and to address issues that specifically affect them. Active Aging Week highlights the capabilities of older persons as fully participating members of society and encourages them to participate in simple exercises. So as you can see with the title there, Retiring with Dignity, during the month of October, we are highlighting the importance of retirement planning and what it means. Retirement is often seen as a reward for a lifetime of hard work and saving. It's also a time that should be filled with family, friends, and fun. However, in this pandemic, if this pandemic has taught us anything, is that what's truly important is having just what is needed, and that is, they did a survey, excuse me, was a study in 2021. They found that the COVID-19 crisis has compelled many people to take steps to improve their financial situation that they otherwise might have ignored or put off. So this included things like developing a retirement savings plan, and that was 56% of those people that were surveyed. Developing a will and estate, or estate plan rather, that's 44% of the people in the study. And then working with a financial advisor, 30% of people, respondents, said that was important for them. So you can see here the agenda for today. Okay, there's my 3 main points I want to highlight. So my objective today is just to unpack the key factors of retirement, including what it is, when it takes place, how to plan for it, and how to make better investment decisions now that will impact your future. Okay, so what's important is what it takes to retire comfortably. And before I can answer that question, or before we start that question, I want to start with some bad news. It's no secret that we are a nation of poor savers. We all know that information. Recent research done by insurers in South Africa indicate that only 6% of people can retire financially independent. Almost half of the South African surveyed, 49%, admitted they didn't have a retirement plan. This indicates that people across the board are nervous about the retirement, and I know a lot of people are like that. Our spending is too high, or our savings or investments are too low, regardless of which income group we fall into. No fewer than 77% of the survey respondents believe that they will have to continue generating an income after they retire. We'll touch on more of that a bit later. In a country where the unemployment rate is more than 30%, there's pressure on older people to retire, particularly because of South Africa's overall young population. Of course, nobody could have predicted the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic fallout, which prevented many people from working or earning an income, giving them no choice but obviously to go into debt if they didn't have an emergency fund. So the lessons learned were painful, but they also ensure that many South Africans will take steps to strengthen their long-term finances, reassess what's important, cut back or scale back, and plan properly for the future. So there's some hope there. So what can we do today to ensure a financially healthier tomorrow? So here's the good news. Fortunately, it's never too late to start saving for retirement, but it's critically important that you do start. The sooner the better. So considering that most of us will live considerably longer during retirement due to the progress of medical science, the amount you need to save for retirement could be a substantial amount. So here are 4 reasons to have a retirement plan. But before we get into that, what is a retirement plan? You know, retirement planning, just means that you're preparing to have a steady stream of income or steady stream of money after retirement. And that entails setting aside funds now and investing specifically with that goal in mind. Your retirement strategy will depend on your final goal, your income, and obviously your age. So why do we need financial planning? You know, growing old can be expensive. And my mother always says, you know, growing old is not for sissies. So although frivolous expenses might reduce, you might have paid off your bond and things like that, and children might have moved out of the house by then, but medical bills are only likely to rise. We'll touch on more again in a few points. So add to that the burden of inflation. We'll touch on that also now. And not having enough money to sustain future expenses can cause stress and worry. And I know a lot of people are going through that right now. The purpose of having a retirement investment plan is to ensure financial stability in your later years without depending on others. So, as I say, there's 4 reasons why individuals must have a retirement fund. First of all, lack of social retirement benefit. So, South Africa does not have a robust social security system like they have in the US, with retirement benefits for the senior citizens. Although pensions and employee provident funds do exist, they may not be sufficient to cover all expenses. Therefore, creating a diversified retirement fund with fixed income and unit trust investments becomes even more crucial. Okay, so that's what I mean by that. So the onus is on you. Financial independence. Now, for generations, older South Africans have been dependent or have depended on their children for retirement support. I fall into the category of people what they call the sandwich generation. It's just a term used to refer to specific struggle facing many South Africans who are responsible for caring for their parents and also for their children financially. So we're stuck in the middle, caring for both those groups. So what's the trend is what's happening now is lately youngsters are leading more independent lives after they're unable to support their parents financially. Even if they can't do it, being responsible for yourself will give you more independence to live life on your own terms because you are not answerable to anyone else. So that's what I mean by financial independence. And that also just gives you that sense of dignity. Going back to our title today. So rising costs or the cost of living increasing, and this is the biggest enemy. The inflation is your public enemy number 1. As an investor, you need to take account of rising costs. So inflation is a vital element to consider when planning for your retirement. A few years ago, and I'm using this as just a very simple example. A few years ago, you could have bought 1,000 rands worth of groceries from Pick n Pay. It would have had about a trolley load of groceries. Now, 1,000 rand, you're basically having a hand basket. Okay, so a few bags of groceries, but you get the idea. So if you're unable to keep up with rising costs, you may have to compromise on your standard of living. In other words, you have to start cutting back on your lifestyle. No more restaurants. Okay, now we have to have a KFC, those kind of things. Okay, so again, I hope you guys get the idea. So medical emergencies, and this is again, this pandemic has highlighted for a lot of people the importance of healthcare and healthcare costs. Healthcare costs are pivotal to understanding the importance of retirement planning. While retail expenses continue to rise steadily, healthcare inflation is growing at an alarming rate. With all the financial goals, they might be negotiable, but health cannot be compromised. Okay. So, what investment products should you consider to save for your retirement? Okay. So before, to answer that question, the 3 most common call it savings vehicle is obviously a pension fund or a provident fund, and that's mainly through a company if you employ it. Okay, so it's through your employer. And the third option is a retirement annuity, and anybody can get involved in that. Yeah. So all they are, these are 3 savings vehicles that encourage you or enforce you to enforce regular contributions, and the whole goal is towards retirement income. and this is to be accessed, obviously, in retirement. So how do you plan for retirement before we really get into the nitty-gritties here? I think the first step, a lot of people don't think about it, but I think the very first step is just to plan for retirement, is to picture it, visualize it. Yeah. Do you see yourself sitting on the park bench feeding the birds every day? I hope not. I hope there's more to life. I hope you got this purpose. But think about how you want to spend your golden days. You know, if you retire at the age of 65, that's what most people will be retiring. Obviously, you can retire much earlier, um, age of 55. But the golden years, let's say you retire at the age of 65 and you live until the age of 90, you got 25 years, and that's the golden years we're talking about. How do you want to spend those years? How do you visualize those years? Do you see yourself traveling more? Do you see yourself playing golf? Do you see yourself fishing, camping, sailing? What hobbies would you be doing? Yeah, are you going to be involved in any charities and mentoring people and maybe consulting your previous company? You might want to start a new venture. You know, you might explore a lot of opportunities that might be coming your way. You know, you also have a lot more time on your hands. So how are you going to spend it with your children and your grandchildren? Okay. So the main idea is have that idea, and then as you plan for retirement, think about what it looks like. You know, talk to your friends, write about it, create a storyboard. You know, the idea is to be imaginative. Then your financial plans and your day-to-day retirement plan should go hand in hand. This is your retirement identity. Okay. Then estimate the money you would need to sustain that lifestyle. Again, more on it later. I say estimate, but I call it a guesstimate. I'll talk about 4 different ways. But don't don't forget to account for inflation. Very important in this. You know, we might be, in 2021, and you might be looking at retiring next year. In 25 years' time, inflation might be totally different. So next, you need to estimate how much of it can be covered by your current assets. And this will help you arrive at a deficit amount that you need to plan and arrange for in the future. Okay, so at least you're aware of it, and it's all to do with planning. So as you analyze your financial situation, you can start gauging how much you need to actually start saving more. So after this, obviously, the idea is to start narrowing down your investment avenues. The younger you are, we always say this, the younger you are, the more time you have, and obviously you can take advantage of the magic of compounding. And obviously you can also take on higher risks. The higher the risk, the higher the potential returns or the growth potential. So you can invest aggressively in growth unit trust when you're young, and even into direct share investment. So that's if you can afford it. But as you grow older, you may want to consider diversifying your investments. You know, this is including moving into retirement annuities, having insurance policies and things like that as part of your retirement plan. So here's a slide that's highlighting 6 quality investment products offered by PSG. Okay, so we've got the voluntary investment plan, endowment, the tax-free retirement annuity, preservation fund, and what we call the equity living annuity. Just very broadly, I just put in 3 categories. You know, who's it suitable for? What about taxation or fixed taxation? And when can I access these my funds as such? So I put in a voluntary investment plan. As I just mentioned now, the younger you are, the more risk you can take on and go for more of the growth investments. But this is ideally for someone that wants to go for growth, wants income, but gives you more flexibility. You've got a wide range of funds to choose from. You've got 450 funds to choose from. Just understand, obviously, it's not very tax efficient. Okay. But what the great thing about this is as you start working, it's a great vehicle for you to build up that emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. And that gives you that peace of mind. But the big advantage here, there's no fixed term. Okay, you can always later on move this into a retirement annuity and then take advantage of the tax benefits from there. Another one I want to highlight here is the endowment. So some people do not have the discipline to save on a monthly basis, or they access their funds too early. So endowment, you got an initial restriction of a 5-year period. Okay, so yes, you do have access to it. You can take a tax-free loan, but it's great for someone that has a a challenge when it comes to discipline. So this is a discipline approach. So after 5 years, all the funds in here is tax free. Okay, because already it's paid out, and then you might roll it into another 5-year period, or you take that money now and you've built up a nice little nest egg. Now you move into retirement annuity. Okay, so those are the two I want to highlight. They're not so much tax efficient as such. I want to highlight the tax-free and the retirement annuity. So the tax-free, and I'm bringing this in because I believe this can be a buffer. Before touching your income from your retirement, use your tax-free as a buffer. So at this point in time, you can put 36,000 Rand a year away every month, every year, or 3,000 Rand a month. But they still got that lifetime limit of 500,000. So 500,000 divided by 36,000 gives you 13.89 years. So let's say after 13.89 years, you got just on your contributions, you've built up as 500,000. So you can, and I'm excluding any growth. So just on 500,000, you can take that divided by 12. It's going to give you roughly about 41,000 Rand a month, and that's tax-free before touching your retirement annuities or your living annuity income. Okay, so is this something to think of? And as I'm highlighting, as I say, it's a buffer. Okay. And you might say, gee, I just need 5,000 Rand extra a month to make up the shortfall because I might have a shortfall on my living annuity. That's something, again, as I say, it's a buffer. Let's talk about retirement annuity. The big thing here, it's your contributions are tax deductible now, so it gives you that tax benefit. And obviously, when it comes to taking out the lump sum and the monthly income, it's more tax efficient. Okay. So the big thing here, again, is from a discipline savings point of view. The earlier you start, the better. But also, you can only access this after the age of 55. So again, it's for discipline savings. And I sincerely recommend that you start this as soon as you start working and you've got a tax number. So let's talk about a retirement annuity. Who's it for? If you're self-employed or your company does not offer a savings plan, a retirement annuity should form part of your investment portfolio. Okay, right in the beginning, the sooner you start, the better. And you'll see my next slide, we'll go into more detail there. So most people have heard of retirement annuities. Many have invested in them, but few understand what they really are. The main difference is between a retirement annuity and your company and a company pension fund is you, as an individual, are taking on tax-deferred savings plan. That's what it is. Okay. So the whole idea, as I mentioned just now again, your contributions are tax deductible up to a certain level. So it's 27.5% of a maximum of 350,000 Rand, okay, on a yearly basis. So within the fund itself, all your growth is tax-free. Okay. So again, as I say, it's great with someone that's got a discipline issue. You can only access these funds after the age of 55. And then at the age of 55, that's the earliest you can take it. Obviously, the longer you leave it, the better. We'll touch on that just now. But you can take a third as a lump sum, and the other 2/3 must be invested into a living annuity. So you can either make a lump sum investment of 20,000 Rand, or you can start as little with a debit order of 500 Rand a month. Okay. So the whole idea here is also that it is limited to what we call Regulation 28. And it's just more of a prudent or wise way of investing instead of putting all your money into high risk equity equity investments. Yeah, you are limited to 75% equity and offshore. But the other 25%, you can invest invest into property and fixed income and money markets and bonds and things like that. So that's a bit more of a balanced approach, more of a asset allocation approach, but you still got a wide range of funds to choose from. Okay. So knowing how much you need at retirement is very, very important, but yeah, it's also unique to you. Many people gain confidence in their plans to retire whilst planning. And this is what's important. People wake up too late or they don't plan early enough. But also, while you start planning, you'll start knowing how much you need to set aside for daily expenses, how much you need to set aside for healthcare and recreation. Give you that ballpark figure. We'll talk about it again just now. So Retirement planning can obviously alone, but it can be daunting, or worse, you can make mistakes, which can be costly. So for structured support during the planning process and over the course of your retirement, consulting a financial advisor is a good option. So, someone that's got expertise in investment management, or also what's very important is knowledge of tax strategies. They can help you a lot to make your savings go much longer, and obviously makes your life much easier. Okay, so I spoke about it just now. The challenge to plan for a savings journey without knowing how much you need, and obviously it makes it difficult to set a goal for a specific amount that will enable you to retire well. So as everyone is different, the most important, it's more important to have a target to aim for, but to depend on your individual circumstances and obviously your aspirations in retirement. So based on research, and this is again just a rule of call it a rule of thumb, recommendation is to target at least 75% of your income before retirement. So aiming for 80%, and that's where this rule of 80 comes through now, will ensure that you're more likely to retire comfortably. So many experts recommend using the 80% rule as a benchmark for what you need to cover your monthly expenses when you retire. So here's an example. If you had 25,000, that's you're currently earning 25,000 and you use the 80% rule, 80% of 25,000, you'll need at least 20,000 Rand per month in retirement to maintain your current standard of living. So you take that 20,000 and you analyze it times 12, that is your annual amount. Okay. So what's important now is we bring in this little thing here called a withdrawal rate. You want to be able to sustain your standard of living in retirement based on the capital you saved up. But unlike food products, human beings don't have a use-by date. So we must rely on a safe withdrawal rate to ensure that we don't outlive our savings. So according to this rate, you should be able to withdraw, in this example, 5% of your portfolio yearly without having to use any of your remaining capital. So remember, you're aiming for at least 30 years to live on this kind of income. Remember, you got more salary income. So this is the money that you need to live on. So this 5% withdrawal rate, it's based on a historical return on the South African Stock Exchange. So on our JSE since about 1964, the growth rate of shares is about 8% above inflation. Okay, so if you're using 5%, you should be if you're limiting 5% of your withdrawals of your portfolio, you still have an additional 5 or 6 growth, 5% or 6%, 5 to 6% growth to cover inflation in the long run. So, based on this 5% annual withdrawal rate after retirement, the amount you will need to save in mind in Rand terms would look like something like this. So you take it 240,000, your annual income, you divide it by 0.05, and it'll give you a ballpark figure of 4.8 million that you need to have saved up or squirreled away. Okay, so that's one method, using it the rule of 80. Another way of looking at it is multiply your final salary by 15. So that factor of 50, your take home salary is 15, or your annual salary is 300,000. So obviously 25 times 12 gives you 300,000. Multiply that by 15. You got a ballpark figure of about 4.5 million, very close to the previous figure. Then we have another one that people use is for every 5,000 Rand you need in income, you need at least R1 million saved up in pension. Okay, so if your monthly income is 25,000 now, divide that by 5,000, you need obviously 5 times 1 million. So you need a gain, roughly about 5 million, which is very, very close to that ballpark figure. Okay, so I hope you guys got the idea when I say it's a guesstimate. And then the fourth item, the fourth way of looking at it is to multiply your monthly needs by 300. So you multiply your 25,000, your salary, your income, or your pension income that you're expecting by 300, and then it gives you your 7.5 million. So obviously this option gives you a much higher figure than the other three options, which is good. It's a good thing. So the more money you have available to invest once you retire, the better your lifestyle will be, and the more likely you'll be able to withstand the impact of unexpected events, such as the current pandemic. So guys, I hope that just gives you some idea. So I'm going to tell you a little story now of a guy called Jan. Jan is a young guy. His age now 25. And as soon as he starts working, he's got a tax number. He starts contributing R1,000 a month to a retirement annuity. And his goal is to retire at the age of 65. Okay, so that gives us a 40-year time period. He's putting R1,000 a month away. Sorry, he starts with R1,000, and then thereafter his monthly contribution is R1,000. Okay, so every year he's clever enough, wise enough to increase his contributions by at least the inflation rate. So this example is going to escalate his contributions by 6% a year. At this point in time, he's working on an annual growth rate of 10% from the market, and you can see that the fees he's paying, and he's using PSG funds, and that's why it's only 0.35% on the admin fees. That is the context we're in. But anyway, after 40 years, and this is starting out with R1,000, and exactly what we said now, increasing by 6% every year. After 40 years, you will have just over 10 million rand. Okay, so you can see contributions there. 1.8 million, that was his own money. Started out R1,000, and that was the recurring contributions. Look at the growth. The interest earned, or the growth, is over 8.6 million. That's the magic of compounding over a long period of time. Okay, so why should you start early? As I mentioned just now, or when should you start early? The sooner the better. Okay, although youth in their 20s, you might not worry about retirement. It's not important, as I say, Jan. Yeah, it's clever. Giving you, the earlier you start, gives you that freedom, gives you that choice, gives you more leeway. Put it that way. So if you miss the bus, you can start where you are. A good retirement plan should be segregated into investment, accumulation, and obviously the withdrawal phases. Right in the beginning, yes, with wealth creation and things like that. Until your early 50s, then you should focus on investing and building your corpus or assets. Okay. So as you near retirement, you should be able to shift the money to safer avenues. So if you invested in, you started at a young age here, you might be invested in growth assets and things like that with exposure to equity market. Move into retirement annuity, and you will be forced to go into a balanced fund. And then later on, you can start moving to various other funds within your portfolio. Okay, so the whole idea here is that you can depend on dipping into it after retirement because you've built up a nice little nest egg. But I want to highlight here also for you the importance of starting early. At the age of 25, you've got 40 years, your premiums, your contributions are only 1,000. 5 years later, 1.7 million. 10 years later, look at your premiums, nearly double. Okay, 25 years to go, 5.2. And as longer you leave it, if you still want that 10 million, and we're talking about the reason why you want 10 million, you can see how much your contributions are. At this point in time, you have to look at something else. Either you have to cut back on your lifestyle drastically, or you have to look at talking about to your family, and your children moving in your family. Okay, so here's Johan again. He comes to the retirement age, and he's built up his little nest egg of 10 million, just over 10 million. He decided, well, by law, when you retire as a member of a pension or provident fund, pension or a provident fund, or even a retirement annuity, and you wish to take a portion of your retirement interest as a lump sum, you're allowed to take as or commute a lump sum equal to a third, okay, maximum of 1/3 of the retirement interest. So at this point in time, he could take just over 3.3 million as a lump sum. Obviously, that will be taxable and things like that. You might want to be paying off debt. You want to be paying off his bond or his home loan. and going on a nice holiday and buying some toys and things like that. But Johan, we've learned already, he's very prudent. He only takes 600,000 to clear his last bit of debt, because over the years he has paid off his bond. He takes 600,000, get rid of his last little debt. Yes, he goes on a little holiday with his wife, but he's still got 9.6 million, and that's where he can put for his pension. Okay, so that 600,000 falls into a category where we call 500,000 to 700,000. So there's tax involved here. So the first category, you can see the first 500,000 is tax free. Okay. So for 600 minus his 500,000, he's got a taxable amount of 100,000. So 18% on his 100,000, he's going to be paying 18% on that. So he took out 600,000, less his 18% tax. In his pocket, he puts in 582,000. He can do whatever he wants with that. And Johan, as I say, is prudent. He's paying off his last debts. He wants to be debt free, and he's still got his pension, his annuity income. Let's talk about that. He puts it into what he call a equity-linked living annuity. So it's a post-retirement product that allows you to invest your lump sum, that 2/3, okay? And the whole idea, remember, here is to provide a retirement income. But also, that money is still growing. And yes, you can put it into whatever you want to, whatever you trust. You might go aggressively into shares. You might want to go offshore. There's no restrictions. However, it's still prudent to adhere to those Regulation 28 guidelines. What's important here, you have to take a minimum of 2.5%. So you have to take some kind of income. Minimum of 2.5% up to 17.5%. But we've already discussed, that we're going to take roughly about 4 or 5%, and that's our idea, is to sustain our capital for the long term. Okay, but the main idea here, you got flexibility. You can switch between funds and things like that, and you still make your money grow. Okay, so here's our living annuity. Johan, as I say, invested the remaining 9.4 million into a living annuity. He decides on a 4% drawdown. So that 9.4%, and he draws down 4%, it's going to give him 376,000 Rand a year, divided by 12, roughly about 31,000. So obviously much less than he was earning full time. But remember, he's got no debts now. So that 376,000 falls into this taxable bracket here, 25,000 to 660,000. So the first 25,000 is tax free. So 376 minus that 25,000, we've got a taxable amount of 351,000, and you can see the tax applicable is 18%. So 18% on 351, he's going to be paying 63,180. So there we go. That's equal to 312,000 divided by 12, give him roughly about 26,000 Rand a year, a month. Okay. So what happens if he was expecting 31,000 and now he's getting 26,000? You can see, whoa, there's a bit of a shortfall here. And that's again where I say that tax-free helps you with a buffer to make up that shortfall. Okay. So the whole idea here is that, it's interesting if you don't take in consideration the tax effects. You need to adjust your withdrawal rate next anniversary. If you misjudged here on the next withdrawal rate, if he's only taking out 312,000 or 26,000 Rand a month instead of 31,000, that difference as such is it's what, 3,900 Rand, or about 47,000 Rand a year. That 312,000 as a percentage of his 9.4 thousand is not 4%, it's actually 3.3%. Okay. So in his next anniversary, he might want to increase his withdrawal rate to about 4.7 to get him around to that ballpark figure of about 30,000 Rand. Okay. So you might, instead of 4.7, you might just round it off to 5%. Okay. So can you understand the importance of planning and calculating as a front? And that's where the financial advisor can help you. Okay. So retirement benefits for those that have started late or haven't got enough. And the challenge here, and I want to highlight it for you guys again, Now, some people do not make enough money to set aside for their later years. Others have bad luck in their career. They followed some poor financial role models. They've got some poor personal financial habits. Spending too much, but also a lack of knowledge about money management. So a lot of people might have fallen into that category. But also, the biggest challenge here for a lot of people is at this point in time, they want to take on greater risk and they want to put all their money in the stock market because they've heard that the stock market has higher returns. And that's one of the worst things you can do. Um, you're gonna eat up your savings faster if you don't know what you're doing. So playing catch up. Now, if you got to a late start on a retirement planning, there are steps that you can take to fund your post-working years. You have to make some. I have to be blunt here. You have to make some potentially uncomfortable moves, and the main thing is stop wasting time. The best time to have started was 10 years ago, and the second best time is today. Don't be discouraged if you're in this place. Many people in the same situation give up, saying it's too late, but that's not the case. And that's my point I want to highlight for you guys. Okay. You actually have advantages. You're in peak earning years. Your kids have moved out of the house. Your bond is most of the time paid off. You've got extra capital that can be redeployed now. Okay, so that's what I mean by playing catch up. There's hope. There's hope. That's what I want to say. Many people begin saving late, assume that they need all their assets in the stock market, and I touched on that just now. To make up lost time. You're very tempted to go, obviously, shoot for the moon and take on tons of risk to play catch up, and that's, as I say, the worst thing you can do. It's more having a balanced approach, having a balanced portfolio, having exposure to equities, yes, 75% equities, but also to other stuff, to property and things like that, is a more prudent way of looking at it. Okay, so yes, the main, again, when I iterate, the younger you are, the big thing here is you starting and building solid financial habits. You take advantage of compounding. Okay, so that's as you're younger. As you're older, one of the things you might want to do is that you might want to push back. Instead of retiring at the age of 65, you want to push back. So, I mentioned just now, a couple retiring at the age of 65 has a 50% chance of living at least a much longer. Or one of them is going to live much longer. Okay, so you got at least 2 to 3 decades where it's more important for you to have the capital than having no capital. So savings is important. So yes, by delaying your retirement from age 65 to 70, it can reduce your savings rate, okay? The required savings rate by at least 50%. So it takes off some of that stress. But I know also some of you say, gee, working longer, it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to work longer, but gee, you have to look at the alternatives. Okay. So right now you can also look at your monthly budget. Where can you start cutting back? Cut out the DSTV, and if you can start finding extra $1,000 or so rand a month, and you start investing that now, you can still take advantage of compounding over a 10-year period. Okay. Find ways to increase your income. A lot of people are going online now and finding ways of creating online income. There are many ways to find ways of doing finding extra income. And the idea is to have diversified income streams, not just relying on one income stream. Again, your financial advisor is there to help you. Talk to your financial advisor. He'll help you find ways too. Okay. So guys, in summary, planning for retirement must be a non-negotiable part of everyone's financial strategy. The future may be uncertain, but can help to be prepared. And again, I'm harping on it. By planning. Okay, diversify your retirement investment by investing into unit trust funds, including fixed income securities and other Government-backed securities. I know we don't think about this. We always think of growth stocks, but I want you to think of more of a balanced approach to retirement saving. So start as soon as you can, so that your later years are more relaxed. Okay. So my hope from this webinar presentation was to encourage you to take steps to strengthen your long-term finances, reassess what's important to you, obviously scale back on the money that you're wasting right now, but also just to plan properly for the future. Again, it's not too late. It's never too late to start saving for retirement, but it's critically important that you start. And again, the sooner you start, the better. No matter what your ideal retirement looks like, be it a relaxed time at home with family and loved ones, or you're going on some kind of adventure or travel, you will need money for that. Okay. So if you want to lead a comfortable and dignified retired life, financial planning is necessary. Okay. So guys, thank you very much for being on this webinar. So I'm going to highlight for you here quickly the 6 products I was talking about just now, those 6 financial vehicles. You can click on all of these little links to take you to our website. We can get some more information. What's important is read up more about the key information on each one of those products. Understand what the investment product's about. There's pros and cons of each one of them. Okay. So again, in this context today, consider the retirement and the tax-free. They are tax-efficient vehicles. So guys, from my side, thank you very much for being on this webinar. If you want to contact us, you can go through the wealth at psg.co.za, or you can also contact us on 0868 000 368. So until next month, bye for now. Keep well.